let's face it, life can be pretty stressful when you're balancing so many different things at once.
Whether that be work, school, or any clubs or activities you happen to enjoy.
So how does one fit it all in with such a limited resource such as time?
I've always struggled with time management, primarily in school. I tend to work at a slower pace or get distracted, leading to things getting forgotten or rushing when I would have much rather taken my time.
But in order to craft a solution that's going to work, we have to pinpoint the specific problems that are facing first.
I boiled it down to 3 distinct struggles or challenges that I face: time management, procrastination, and transitions. It feels as if I never have enough time for anything, and if I do, it's not enough. I often find myself struggling to focus for long stretches of time and putting off tasks. And then going from one task to another has always been difficult. I frequently start one task and jump to another unfinished.
So what did I do to combat my struggles? I downloaded a little app called Toggl Track.
Although not initially aimed at students or studying, the timers and trackers serve as a great tool for time management in many different forms. When it comes to activity tracking and data reports, it offers a closer snapshot of your certain habits and presents them to you in a graph, allowing an exact account of how you spend your time every day.
When you first open the app, it's going to bring you to the timers, and then it'll have this tracking button, and that's for the live tracking. So basically you're just going to click it, and then it's automatically going to put you into that mode. And what you're going to do is you're going to type exactly what you're working on, and it has a section right here, and then it's already chiming, as you can see. So it already starts doing it as soon as you press that button. And you can also go ahead and do it for like other times, like ahead as well, and different dates, anything you need as well. So it's just like the in time function. This is the reports page, and that's just going to have all your data for anything that you track, and then it puts it in a nice little graph here, and you're able to see exactly where your time is going, and it's going to be all labeled with those labels that you put in, so you're going to know exactly where it's going and what it's for.
For the calendar log, I highlighted 3 different aspects that I found really helpful. For visual, it puts your tracked activities into a schedule-like format, which helps with the bigger picture. Comparisons, the layout makes it easy to compare running times for certain activities. And then the schedule, you're able to track an activity ahead of time if you have something coming up, and you want to think ahead.
And then from here, we can go over to our calendar. So it's going to be that middle icon on the bottom tab, and here is our calendar. And it's going to be more of a timeline sort of setup rather than a traditional calendar. And so it just shows the different hours there, and then anytime you track something is going to automatically go and link to your calendar.
The Pomodoro setting within the timers is really what drew me in initially. I noticed that the Pomodoro method worked for me a while back. However, considering it's such a large chunk of time altogether, I'd put it off time and time again. I eventually would simply set my own timers, but with Toggl Track, it's already set up, so I can worry about getting to work instead. I particularly utilize and appreciate the labeling feature within the timer, because it allows me to stay grounded in my study session with such a clearly defined intention.
If we go over to the other section, so this one says list, and that's exactly where we just were with all our timers. It's going to list them right there. And then if you click over to the Pomodoro section, this is the timer for the Pomodoros. And so basically you can, under here it says Pomodoro settings, and that's where you're able to customize it. So you're able to do different links for the focus and the break period. So it's typical for a Pomodoro to be a 25 focus period and then a 5-minute break period, but you can adjust as you need. And then again, same with the other one, you're gonna, up here, you're gonna type exactly what you're working on or your focus. And I think that just offers a nice element of accountability almost. And then in order to start it, you just hit start session, and then it just asks if you want to do notifications, just so when you're working, it can alert you. And then it just starts going off. And then as it goes down, you're working. And then say you need to stop it early for any reason, you're gonna go ahead and just hit that stop button, and then it asks you if you want to finish early, and then you just say yes, and then it finishes early. And then it already brings you prompting you to your break period. And then if you wanted to skip that as well, you just start your break, it's starting, and then say you need to finish it, and then you could skip this break. And again, it just has that confirm. So that's basically how the Pomodoro section works.
I found the Pomodoro setting the most helpful, either when I have a larger project I'm overwhelmed about and need to break down into smaller tasks in order to tackle it, or when I especially need to focus on something and get it done, just so I'm able to lock in and make sure that I'm getting every ounce of that time that I need in order to complete the assignment or the task at hand. As far as pricing goes, the app is free to download for iOS and Android, but there are a few different pricing plans that they offer. I did not find these necessary, however, given my purposes. Whether or not a plan would work for you depends on your use and intentions for the app. Given the simplistic yet versatile style of the app, I brainstormed a few different alternative uses. Perhaps you need to carry out a good chunk of community service hours and need a way to log them. Or whether you are just starting out or for a while, you could use the timers for different workouts and reps in your fitness journey. And for entrepreneurs, those who work from home can manage their time better and have a log for later when paying themselves or their employer.
Over the course of me finding and using the app, I narrowed down exactly what features I liked and others not so much, whether it be because they didn't exactly fit my purposes or that certain feature was lacking in certain areas.
Let's get into the highlights and advantages of Toggl Track. As I've already mentioned, I find the labeling very helpful for my brain and motivation. It allows you to set an intention and helps hold yourself more accountable and pinpoint exactly what needs to get done. The making goals feature is very similar, but rather than being tied to a session, it's a broader form of labeling. Customizable timers opt for options, and options means everyone is included and considered, so then the app reaches more people. And finally, the data reports gives data back to reference to, which is really important and useful to make changes accordingly. These couple features I just mentioned are truly what make the app for me and overall allow me to get more work done in a better time frame. Very much acting as tools that aid one another to provide a useful tracker and timer experience, promoting productivity, a good work ethic, which contributes to a much larger discussion on hustle culture as a whole.
Of course, we can't discuss the overall effectiveness of an app without considering its cons in a sense. And although it does have a few, I wouldn't say they were detrimental in me using the app, and I would still use the app regardless. And I highlighted a couple different features when it came to this. 3 places that I thought were kind of lacking were functionality, the calendar specifically, and then the lacking design. So when it came to functionality, some of the times it would get a little bit glitchy in between certain timers and starting a timer and then switching to a different timer. However, I noticed that this started to become less and less as I used the app, so I'm not sure if it was just an initial bug, but it seems to have cleared up by now. I'm also left wanting a little bit more as far as the calendar goes. Because it's in a timeline layout rather than a traditional calendar, it's harder to see the bigger picture, and it offers more of a zoomed in lens of that day, which is also helpful, but I'd rather have the option of between that and the larger picture so you can compare those certain days and activities. Finally, I wanted to talk about the minimal design, which is also a benefit, but in this case I wanted to express how having a design that isn't engaging or it doesn't offer anything to the user is going to make them less likely to want to use the app. So it's only in the sense of aesthetic and promoting productivity through the visuals of an app looking good and looking fun in a sense.
Perhaps an alternative method to Toggl Track would be simply setting your own timers and using a preferred calendar. Essentially using the app's model in your own way to possibly fit your needs better if they're not being met precisely in the app, allowing the user to still follow along tracking even more precisely. This, however, offers no data logs and simply just the tracking feature.
So what are my final thoughts on Toggl Track? I really liked the app and I found it really useful, especially because I already liked using the Pomodoro method, and by having it already programmed into the settings, it allows me to just start working rather than worrying about timer, worrying about this. I'm just getting straight to work because I already have that foundation of what I'm going to do. And then implementing that labeling feature as well was really fun and important to me, simply because setting that intention is already putting that into motion of what you're going to do. And like I said before, it's holding you accountable by saying this is what I'm going to do and this is what I'm going to get done in this session, and it's offering no other fault. Like, you have to do that thing essentially, and it offers just a better level of productivity that I didn't have before when I was setting my own timer